Hi there, my name is Fiona, a local preacher on trial. Today I'm remembering those who died in wars across the world, those who mourn and fear for families and friends, and those who return from war forever changed. Let us be encouraged in our walk with God. When we are faced with challenges, when the way before us is dark, when we're not sure what to do, let us be assured that God is ready to bless us and to bring us through it all.
Kitty Eckersley's story. When I found out that I was pregnant, I went to see them at the leatherworks, and they said they would find me some light work. So I had a very nice job, and worked there until I was 7 months pregnant. I didn't go out much because I had a very bad time during my pregnancy. The only thing I could keep in my stomach was carrots. They were cheap, so I had 2 pounds of carrots every day. I was very thin at the time. My mother had a little job picking strawberries at a jam factory, so there was only me in the house when I heard the postman come. I knew there would be a letter for me, so I ran down in my nightdress and opened the door, snatched the letter off him, and ran in and shut the door again. I opened the letter and saw it was from his sergeant. It just said, "I am very sorry to tell you of the death of your husband." Well, that was as far as I could read. I don't really know what happened over the next few minutes, but I must have run out of my house as I was, in my bare feet, and banged on the next door. They brought some blankets and wrapped me up in them, and sent for my mother, so she came home and treated me for shock. His letter was only from his sergeant, so I thought perhaps it was an error. So later on I wrote back to the sergeant, but I had another letter to say that he also had been killed. Then later on I got the official news.
The war in Iraq, the husband's story. My wife, Jo, is an RAF doctor working as part of the aeromedical evacuation team. It's her job to look after casualties as they are being flown out of war zones, back to safer locations. Unfortunately, she is there to certify the dead too. She hasn't been needed that much, which is excellent. Meanwhile, I'm at home looking after our 1-year-old son, Alexander. I understand why she's gone, but it's very frustrating because my wife has missed her son's first birthday. Jo has also missed watching her son starting to crawl and speak and get more teeth. That's probably the hardest bit. I've had plenty of excellent support from my parents, her parents, brothers and sisters, but I don't think that most people realise civilian husbands of military personnel exist. All the talk is of supporting our boys at war, and I find that very frustrating. It's not just husbands that have gone out there. It's wives and mothers too. This is the first time Jo's been away in a war zone, and during the combat I was constantly watching BBC News 24 and checking news online. That's the most heart-rending thing, just watching it on the news and wondering where she is and what she's doing, and is she all right? Is she coming back?
When we are living, we are with the Lord, and when Sometimes we sorrow, other times we grace. Sometimes we question everything we face. Yet in our yearning, this deeper learning, we belong to God. We belong to God. Till earth is over, may we always know love never fails us. God's grace is so. Hard times will prove us, never remove us. We belong to God. We belong to God.
The Second World War. The Daughter. It starts with my grandfather, who lost his arm in World War I, and his son in World War II. He was my father figure, and a constant reminder of war and its effects upon people and families. He always said that losing his arm was the best thing that happened to him. He was invalided out of the army, was able to set up his own market stall, and eventually a small shop, before the flood of men came looking for jobs in 1918. And he always had his pension to supplement his income. In the end though, it was having no arm that killed him. He missed his footing and fell from a bus when he was 90. So I was aware of the effects of war even before I was old enough to know that my own father had died at Annam when in September 1944 he was shot down and his parachute didn't open. I was born in January 1945. My mother did not have the confirmation of my father's death until VE Day. As everyone else celebrated, her loss was proved. My grandfather, he never attended church after World War II and never spoke to me about his beliefs. The effects of war are still present in our family.
Sergeant Jack Dorgan, 7th Battalion, Northumberland Fusiliers. Private Bob Young was conscious right to the last. I lay alongside of him and said, "Can I do anything for you, Bob?" He said, "Straighten my legs, Jack." But he had no legs. I touched the bones, and that satisfied him. Then he said, "Get my wife's photograph out of my breast pocket." I took the photograph and put it in his hands. He couldn't move. He couldn't lift a hand. He couldn't lift a finger. But somehow he held his wife's photo on his chest. And that is how Bob Young died.
They are not here, and we are the others, walk by ourselves, unquestioned in the sun, which shines for us and only for us. For they are not here, and are made known to us in this great absence that lies upon us and is between us, since they are not here. Now, in this kingdom of summer idleness, where slowly we, the sun-tranced multitudes, dream and wonder in deep oblivion of brightness, and breathe ourselves out in the air, it is absence that receives us. We do not touch. Our souls go out in the absence that lies between us and is about us. For we are the others. And so we sorrow for those that are not with us, not knowing we sorrow, or that this is our sorrow, since it is long past thought, our memory or device of mourning. Sorrow for loss or that which we never possessed, the unknown, the nameless, the ever-present that in their absence are with us, the inheritors, the usurpers, claiming the Son and the kingdom of the Son, that sorrow and loneliness might bring a blessing upon us. The Absent by Edwin Muir.
Matthew 5, 1-12. Jesus began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." A strange expression, poor in spirit. In one translation it says, "Blessed are those who know their need of God." Yeah, that's it. We need God when we remember, or we might do the wrong sort of remembering. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. When there is war, many people will mourn. 10 million soldiers died in the First World War alone, and 7 million people who were not soldiers and were not fighting. Could those left be comforted? Only by knowing that the dead are where the evils of war cannot touch them again. Only by knowing that God will not let war have the last word. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. It sounds impossible at the time, but it remains true. Tyrannical regimes do come to an end. The survivors are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are those who are not corrupted. They will be able to live with themselves, their conscience and their God. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. At the end of the Second World War, the nations tried to build peace. Old enemies, Japan, Britain, France, Germany and the United States, decided to build each other up. And it might not be perfect, but the European Union gained the Nobel Peace Prize for holding war at bay for 60 years. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Can we put aside greed, envy, anger and hatred? Jesus promises that if his way is our greatest desire, this is greater than all other things. We will know him, love him and finally see him face to face. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. The work of the peacemakers goes on. We see what is achieved in Northern Ireland, we see what is achieved in South Africa, and we see where it is still needed in Israel and Palestine and Syria. Wherever there has been conflict, there is work for the peacemakers, for the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We still hear almost every day of those who dare to tell the truth about oppression, those who speak out against injustice, and those who blow the whistle on wrongdoing. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. And will we dare to join them? Will we do what is right when it is costly? The hard truth instead of the easy lie. Rejoice and be glad, for great is your reward in the kingdom of heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. How can I rejoice at that? Because we have the example of prophets who dared to speak out. We have the example of Jesus who embraced his calling, though it would lead to his death, for he knew that death could not keep him from his Father. The words of Jesus inspire us to put the world right. When we remember, let us recall the blessings we have received, and let us remember by blessing in our turn. Let us put away contempt and put cherishing, respect, honour, value, love in its place.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and
We're going to have 2 minutes silence. No distractions and real concentration. We're here to remember, and that's going to be hard, because when we remember those affected by war, we are faced with the most terrible evil. The deaths of service personnel and the deaths of civilians are part of the terrible cost of war, and we haven't learned to avoid it yet. War still goes on, so when we remember, we have to say sorry to God for conflicts that have brought about so many deaths, and it is difficult to concentrate in the silence, and you might like to just have one thought to help you remember, and it's a line from the Lord's Prayer. Each time you remember or think of something about war and those who lost their lives, pray to God, deliver us from evil. Jesus, like so many who died in war, gave his life when he died for us on the cross to give the proof that we are loved and forgiven by our Father. So, as we remember, we might pray, deliver us from evil. God, give peace. Help us to lift our eyes above the torment of this broken world and grant us the grace to pray for those who wish us harm. As we honour the past, may we put our faith in your future, for you are the source of life and hope, now and forever. Amen.